Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, or good evening. I am glad to see you. Today, I'm going to read the second chapter in the book, Frog and Toad Are Friends. This book is so much fun, but what I like best about it is about friendship. Boys and girls, you can be friends with your brothers or sisters. You can be friends with people that do not live in your home. I know a lot of you had friends at school. So I hope you will think about friendship as I read the next chapter called The Story. The Story. One day in the summer, Frog was not feeling well. Toad said, "Frog, you are looking quite green." "But I always look green." And Frog said, "Frog, I am a frog." "Today you look very green, even for a frog," said Toad. "Get into my bed and rest." Toad made Frog a cup of hot tea. Frog drank the tea, and then he said, "Tell me a story while I am resting." "All right," said Toad. "Let me think of a story to tell you." Toad thought and thought, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. "I will go out on the front porch and walk up and down," said Toad. "Perhaps that will help me to think of a story." Toad walked up and down the porch, but he could not think of a story to tell Toad. Then Toad went into the house and stood on his head. "Why are you standing on your head?" said Frog. "I hope that if I stand on my head, it will help me to think of a story," said Toad. Toad stood on his head for a long time, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. Toad then poured a glass of water over his head. "Why are you pouring water over your head?" said Frog. "I hope that if I pour water over my head, it will help me think of a story," said Toad. Toad poured many glasses of water over his head, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. Then Toad began to bang his head against the wall. "Why are you banging your head against the wall?" asked Frog. "I hope that if I bang my head against the wall hard enough, it will help me think of a story." "I am feeling much better now, Toad," said Frog. "I do not think I need a story any more." "Then you get out of bed and let me get in it," said Toad, "because now I feel terrible." Frog said, "Would you like me to tell you a story, Toad?" "Yes," said Toad. "I would like to hear a story if you know one." "Once upon a time," said Frog, "there were two good friends, a frog and a toad. The frog was not feeling well. He asked his friend the toad to tell him a story. The toad could not think of a story. He walked up and down on the porch, but he could not think of a story. He stood on his head, but he could not think of a story. He poured water over his head, but he could not think of a story. He banged his head against the wall, but he could not think of a story. Then the toad did not feel so well, and the frog was feeling better. So the toad went to bed, and the frog got up, and told him a story. The end. "Wow! How was that, Toad?" said Frog. But Toad did not answer. He had fallen asleep. Tomorrow, the story will be called a lost button. I'll see you tomorrow.